Hi everyone, Shanna with Apogee of the Moon, and we are back with a full moon forecast for you for this total blood moon eclipse that's happening in Scorpio on May 16th. So it's upcoming for me, it's upcoming for you watching. It could be upcoming or it could be after the fact. But this is going to be valid for the next several weeks, especially because this is a total blood moon lunar eclipse. This is a very intense eclipse. This eclipse will be felt for sure. The sun and the moon are with the north and the south nodes, right? So, and at the same time, there's a square going on to Saturn. So we're just going to jump right into the forecast here. This one is all about fear of letting go. As far as I'm concerned, this is how I see it, because Scorpio can be a very fear-based sign when it comes to, their craving for safety and security, right? It's a water sign. It's a very emotional sign. It wants safety and security. It's a trauma response, right? Because it is the more intense of the water signs. People don't think it's a water sign. It's a water sign. So this is the end of something that is at hand, right? With this eclipse, this is either an ending, a completion, a finalization, and a reevaluation in a very big way. And we'll get into, what this means for each of the signs after we talk about this full moon. So, we'll be processing in a very intense way because the moon is in fall in Scorpio. It doesn't function as well. It doesn't, it's not the nicest of energies with the moon in Scorpio. It can be very intense and have kind of that sting to it. So Scorpio is all about the deep unconscious, the deep psychological desires that we have. And with Saturn in square with this, Saturn has rulership as well over fear itself, our physical limitations, and the world in which we live is governed by the planet Saturn. So the moon being our emotional state, our feeling of security and safety, collectively, people have been feeling this one. You can see it on social media. You can see it in the mainstream. You can see it in the sidebar. You can see it in the underground. You can see it in daily conversations. Everyone is bringing up their fears and their unmet desires right now. It's just what it is. So the trine that this full moon has to Mars, one of Scorpio's co-rulers. This is a traditional ruler. Mars is in trine with this eclipse. So is Neptune. Mars and Neptune are conjunct, and kind of an out of sign degree trine to Jupiter, because Jupiter is such a big planet. We do have that support as well from both beyond the tangible and very physical action, right? We can use our intuition, we can use our action, we can use our knowledge to work through what this eclipse is bringing about for each of us. And it's a karmic release, right? Is happening for us, though we may not see the blessings as of yet, or for a long time, the toxicity that we've been holding on to in these fixed areas of our chart needs to go, and it will. Whether or not we want it to. There are things that are unfolding that are very destined and very karmic, and especially where Saturn is concerned, very fear-based right now. On top of all of that, later on in the week, just after this eclipse happens, Mars will be coming conjunct Neptune exact, and so this one is Mars conjunct Neptune is not the greatest of energies. There can be lies of omission, deceit of some kind. It can be intense, and especially in these late degrees of Pisces, there can be a tendency to martyr oneself. This one might have a little bit more of a bite to it, though. even though, you know, Pisces with this energy, this is kind of like a fake it till you make it kind of thing. That's not exactly, because Mars is about action and will. It's our power. It's where we pull from when we need to kind of pull up our power reserves that we have and kind of hold our own personal power. Mars has a lot to do with our own personal will, right? So it is our personal will. So depending on where your personal Mars is in your natal chart depends on kind of how that's going to express. But here in Pisces, Mars can have a really hard time gaining traction because Pisces is such a nebulous sign. It's so vast and it's oceanic, right? I mean, it's Pisces. Pisces has rulership over the seas, you know, Neptune, the god of the sea, right? Like, many conundrums here with Mars trying to gain traction. This can definitely be a spiritual warrior, or this could see people playing hard victim. That's just how it is. So, you know, there's no real foothold for Mars to gain traction on. So, you know, Neptune is kind of a doubling down on that slippery surface where we can't get ourselves in motion. We can't we want that forward momentum. That's what Mars wants. We want to move forward. We want to do things, but there's this stalling out. There's this tendency to martyr, or this tendency to victim, or there's this tendency to kind of scapegoat, right? With this energy here, with this conjunction happening. So Mars transits through Pisces can see will and power postponed and diffused a little too much to be able to take real action, where we need to dive into ourselves and our dreams and find a way to rally that inner resolve and our deep emotional maturity for the next steps when Mars moves into Aries. And so be cognizant of that shortly after this eclipse, Mars will be moving on into the sign of Aries and come conjunct Jupiter. That'll be fun. You know, this eclipse as well is, the sun especially is in a trine with Pluto at the time of this eclipse. And so this is much different than the square we experienced, you know, earlier in April. The trine to Pluto, especially with retrograde, Pluto being retrograde right now, can see us taking our time with a difficult or a seemingly difficult power struggle and overcoming it with an ironclad will and fortitude we didn't realize that we had. Because Pluto retrograde is very introspective. It's, again, another planet of power. And so this is our inner resolve. This is what truly we are deeply passionate about at that unconscious level. And so we can dig in and realize how to use things to our advantage if we can take the time to focus and harness the energy. And then later on in the week, we do have, you know, the sun moving into Gemini after this eclipse. And so, you know, happy solar return to the Geminis. Happy birthday, Geminis. So the sun has not been here for a year. And so the last time the sun was here, we were having eclipses here. The nodes were here. And so this was kind of a very disruptive energy, like what we're going through right now with this eclipse that's coming up. And so after all the eclipses in this sign and all the work, and now kind of being refreshed and renewed, Geminis especially, are ready for the less volatile kind of energy that's going on here with just plain old sun coming through Gemini, no eclipses. This is the first time in a couple of years now that you've been able to have less upheaval and maybe a little more fun. So that's what I have there. And so yeah, let's get into all 12 signs, shall we? So we are going to, how can I do this here? I don't know what happened. All right, so for Aries and for Aries rising, this full moon eclipse is happening in your 8th house. And so there could be power struggles, there could be joint finance issues, there could be things going on, you know, with your spouse's resources, or there could be, you know, culminations, completions, finalizations, definitely with the sun in your second house, your focus has been on your finances, what you're doing with your money, how you're doing things with your money. And then when this eclipse comes through, this is definitely taking stock and highlighting in a really big way the joint finances, the taxes, the insurances, the inheritances. And so there could be a very big culmination and a very intense kind of energy surrounding your taxes or surrounding your joint finances, the finances that you make through your partner, your partner's resources. This could be investments as well. There could be really big reevaluations that need to happen in terms of, especially if you're in the stock market. I am not an expert in stock markets. Please do not think that I am. I listen to other financial astrologers and I just scratch my head at what's going on with everything. So anyway, just know that this is a very tumultuous thing for you. This could be a very big finalization and completion in terms of finances coming in through a partner, or maybe even the ending of finances, joint finances with a partner of some kind. So that is for the eclipse for you. With Mars coming into a conjunction with Neptune at this time, you yourself, Aries, because Mars is your chart ruler, at this time you could have intuitions, or you could have feelings of things beyond, maybe you're having nightmares, or you're not able to sleep, or maybe you're really stressed out, especially with what's going on with this eclipse. And so with Mars and Pisces, this is kind of like you not able to really understand or grasp what is going on in the way that you like, and not able to take action in the way that you like, because this could be a really kind of nebulous situation that you find yourself in. And with Mercury also in retrograde in your third house, your communication is going to be really off anyway. You need to focus on speaking clearly to the people that you need to speak clearly to, and not mincing your words, but being also tactful, right? And not harsh with people. There can be a tendency to that. You do have Jupiter in your sign, so that fiery nature that you can be known for sometimes might be on a little bit of overdrive, especially early degree Aries people. You could be feeling a little more fired up than normal. So that's what I have for you, Aries. For Taurus and for Taurus rising, this eclipse is happening in your 7th house and in your 1st house. So the sun has been highlighting you, and now with the moon coming through and highlighting your 7th house, this is highlighting your relationships in a really big way, and maybe relationships that you didn't necessarily realize were as toxic as they were, or maybe you have, and now you realize what you need to do in order to remove yourself from the toxicity, from the stuck stagnancy that can be a stuck stagnant relationship, right? But this is also highlighting in a really big way a culmination, a completion, a finalization of maybe something to do, especially with your career, with your public standing, your public reputation. Some of you could be getting married, some of you could be getting divorced, some of you could be having a baby, some of you could be doing a plethora of things to kind of change your relationships and what you're doing out in the world with your career, with your public standing and public reputation. So there could definitely be some, kind of interesting things going on there for you. But this is highlighting your partners and your partnerships and your contracts and your agreements and your negotiations. So in a big way, and in a really intense way, this could be a culmination point of a relationship or a partnership of some kind for you. With Mars coming conjunct Neptune at this time as well in your 11th house, this isn't necessarily the worst for you, because this is kind of your relationship houses, right? The 7th and the 11th have to do with relationships with other people, your one-to-one partners and contracts, as well as the 11th, which is groups and organizations and people you associate with, as well as, you know, the people that you personally align yourself with, because they are aligned with your core values. And so with Mars here coming conjunct Neptune, this isn't, the way this is hitting you isn't the worst in the world. Even though the relationships can be really intense, this trine to the 11th house for you could definitely see getting behind a social movement, getting behind a cause that you feel very strongly about. And just be aware that because Mars does rule your 12th house of endings, you know, and self-sabotage and things like that, there could definitely be some interesting things going on there for you. Yeah. This could, well, I mean, it can work out a couple of different ways. The way this could work out is that there is a cause that you want to get behind. There's also some relationship sabotage that could be going on in terms of friends, because it is Neptune. Depending on where your ascendant is, if you're a late degree Taurus rising, this could be beneficial for you in terms of the relationships that you are garnering and the relationships that you're having with people, with groups, with organizations, with the people that you align yourself with. Even though it's really intense in the moment, this could actually be very beneficial, and even maybe lucrative for you too. So there is that. Okay, so for Gemini and for Gemini rising, this eclipse is happening in your 6th house. So there could be work things that are coming to completion, fruition, culmination, endings. You know, maybe if you've been working on a project for work, it's coming to fruition around now, right? Within the next few weeks anyway. And it's balls to the walls, getting stuff done, doing it. This could also be your personal health, because with the sun transiting through your 12th house, you really want to kind of pull yourself away from, you know, the fray, from the everyday. But with this blood moon eclipse here, this is like in a big way putting you back into the work, back into the day-to-day, back into the grind that you need to kind of toil away with in terms of what you're doing every single day. This can also be, you know, a push-pull with your mental state, and your, like, there's something going on behind the scenes that you want to take care of, but you're not able to necessarily get to it because there's so much going on here in the house of, like, the mundane, right? The 6th house is the house of the mundane, the everyday, the kind of drudgery and sludge that we have to go through. So there could definitely be a real big power struggle with that, especially in square with Saturn in the 9th house. You know, the 9th house has to do with our beliefs, our dogmas, our, you know, religious or spiritual beliefs, our kind of how we frame the world around us, the education that we have, you know, the dogma that we have around, you know, life and living and things like that. So there could definitely be some pretty intense transformations that can happen for you in terms of your worldview and how you view this situation that's going on. And so it can be really intense in the moment. And, you know, because it's the house of the mundane, it's the 6th house is kind of that drudgery. And so there could definitely be some major power struggles going on with that. And then with Mars coming conjunct Neptune, this is happening in your 10th house. And so there could definitely be, when it comes to your career and your everyday, right, because this is happening in trine with this eclipse point, there's definitely definitely some things going on in terms of your career, your public standing, your public reputation, what it is that you're known for. And so there could be some like nebulous things going on, especially with Mars there. Or maybe there's some nebulous things going on with career because of the people that you align yourself with. There could definitely be some interesting things going on there that are kind of helping to add to the stress of that sixth house, but not in a bad way. It's this could actually be really good for your career in terms of your public standing and public reputation and what it is that you're known for out in the world, and you know, the goals that you have that you want to achieve. So definitely pay attention to the people, the places, the things that are coming in that you can align yourself with in terms of your career and your public standing. And what you're doing every single day. I mean, this could be a really great culmination and kind of a spotlight put on you in terms of, especially with that Mars Neptune conjunction happening in your 10th house. So depending on where this is happening for you, there could be some nebulousness too, especially if you're a late degree Gemini rising. There could be some nebulousness. There could be a cutting away of a career because of having to deal with the mundane, the everyday, the things that you have to do every day, and wanting to pull away from the world, especially with that square to Saturn. I don't necessarily like that for Gemini risings. But that is what I have for Cancer. And for Cancer rising, not the worst for Cancer. This full moon is happening in trine and in sextile to your ascendant and your descendant, especially if you're a late degree Cancer ascendant or sun or moon. This is going to be happening in trine. And so trines are really harmonious energies. They're really nice energies to have. So this full moon is happening in your 5th house of fun, play, joy, hobbies, romance, sex. This could be really, really good for some Cancer ascendants, especially, in terms of the romance department, flings, boyfriend, girlfriend, love affairs, things like that. Just make sure they're not married, please. But this could be really good for you. This could be really good for your children if that's applicable to you. There could be something really important going on in the life of your child that's really intense but really powerful and transforming. Maybe they're getting older, and this eclipse is kind of highlighting them either leaving the nest or highlighting them kind of growing up a little bit more and taking, things like that. The only thing I will say is that this eclipse is squaring Saturn in your 8th house. So this can be a really intense power struggle when it comes to children, especially. This straight up could just be power struggles with children or power struggles over children. So if you're a Cancer ascendant or sun or moon that is going through I would dare say, even with education, with that trine to Mars up in the 9th house, there could definitely be some power struggles going on with children in terms of joint finances, or power struggles in terms of, like your power struggles over your children, or power struggles with joint finances to do with your children could be a thing with this blood moon eclipse with the square to Saturn. But they're just as easily could be great healing for Cancers, especially those that don't have children. This could be healing from old traumas, old wounds, old baggage surrounding sex, surrounding what brings you pleasure, what brings you joy, the things that you love to do. Maybe you shut down your creative centers for so long, Cancers, because of trauma. And so with that square to Saturn, it's kind of, you can't move past it without going through it, right? And that can be a theme for you specifically with this, especially. So there is that. With the trine to Saturn, geez, get it together, Shanna. With the trine to Mars in your 9th house, this is highlighting your worldview, your belief systems, education, you know, travel, things like that. So this is highlighting this, and this could be really good, either going through specific types of education, with like maybe education that has to do with your career, especially because Mars does rule your 10th house and it's in your 9th right now. You know, this could be education to do with your career, or this could be education that, or travel even, that is coming up for you that has to do with your career, with your public standing and public reputation. It could also be, what am I thinking here? Guys, I really am sorry. This Mercury retrograde has really affected my brain quite a bit. And so, like, I have the things going on in the brain, but I'm not getting it out, articulating it. So with this trine to the 9th house, this could definitely be education. It could be an educational pursuit that is bringing you joy, that is bringing you passion, or, you know, whether or not you're teaching or learning, or both in some instances. I know some Cancer ascendants that are doing both right now. So there could definitely be more joy, more passion, more joie de vivre, as they say, right? And, you know, the joy of life could be going on for you right now, especially finding, you know, what truly brings you joy and learning how to express that in a constructive way, for later on. So that's what I have for Cancer. For Leo and for Leo rising, this full moon eclipse is happening in your 4th house, and the square to Saturn is in your 7th. Not a fun time for relationships, not a fun time for contracts, agreements, or negotiations, not a fun time for the home front. Maybe there's something going on in your parents' lives, or there's a culmination, a completion, or a finalization that's going on in terms of something to do with joint finances. It could even be related to the purchase or the sale of a property or a home, right? Because Mars does rule your 4th house, and Mars is in your 8th house of, you know, joint finances, money through institutions, things like that, like loans, debts, things like that. And so there could definitely be some power struggles going on with that as well. There could easily be just power struggles going on the home front for you in general. This could be, you know, taking an active role in healing old traumas, old wounds, old baggages that have to do with, you know, where you come from, your lineage, or even like how you want your home to be. Maybe you've been in the place that you've been for too long and it's turned toxic, and now it's time to get out and move on and move forward. Now with the square to Saturn though, it's going to probably take longer than what you want it to take. And so with Saturn, especially if you're a late Leo, you know, those end degrees, the very last decan, anywhere from 20 to 30 degrees, this is really going to be affecting you the most in terms of your relationships and your partnerships. So this is, you know, commit or get out kind of energy with Saturn on your descendant. The earlier Leos have gone through it already. Now you're going through it. So just be prepared that if you are not 100% in, then you're out. And that's how, you know, that's how it works. But there's also, you know, something going on in terms of your career, your public standing, your public reputation is changing in some way. And it could have to do with relationships, or it could have to do with partnerships, or it could have to do with, you know, spouses, or, you know, parents. It could have to do with insurances or inheritances, or money coming in through outside resources. It could have to do with the stock market, even because the 8th house, you can see the stock market in the 8th house. So definitely there's some interesting things going on for you here with this blood moon eclipse. It's going to be intense. I'm a Leo ascendant, so I know this. For Virgo and for Virgo rising, this blood moon eclipse is happening in your 3rd and in your 9th house. So the sun is up in your 9th house of like your kind of view of what reality is and what's going on there, your dogma, your dogmatic belief system, your religious orientation, education, you know, teaching, learning, educating, things like that, or even travel. And so with this blood moon eclipse happening in your 3rd house, of, you know, your community or your siblings, or, you know, even your vehicles can be seen from the 3rd house. So there could definitely be some really intense conversations that surround either extended siblings or extended family members, and it has to do with health, wellness. Just because this is squaring Saturn in the 6th house of health and wellness. So, this could be the health of a sibling. This could be the health of an extended family member. It could be a number of different things. This could be that maybe your work, what you're doing, the conversations around your job and what you're doing every single day, maybe you want to leave, and maybe that's a conversation that you really need to have, with bosses or authority figures or things like that. But also with this, this trying to Mars in your 7th house, this has to do with contracts, agreements, negotiations, things like that. And Mars does rule your 8th house of joint finances. So for you, there could, let me think about this for a minute. With Jupiter in your 9th house, this could be a move for you. This could be the culmination of a move to a different location. A culmination, completion, finalization, and a reevaluation of where it is that you want to move. I mean, Jupiter's in your 9th house, right? No, Jupiter's in your 8th house. I'm sorry. Jupiter's in your 8th house of joint finances. And so there could be loans that you're looking at or debt that you're getting into because of a property, if that's applicable to you. If it's not, this could even be paying off a property, and kind of, paying off debt to do with home or property or anything like that as well, just because of the rulership. This could also even be contracts, contracts that have to do with contracts within your local community, I would say, even. Like if you're a business person, especially, this could be conversations that happen through partnership. It's with Mars in your 7th house, it's not the worst eclipse because it is hitting, especially if you're a late degree Virgo. This is in trine and in sextile to your ascendant and your descendant. So these are positive aspects going on, in terms of conversations with partners and through partnerships. Even if they're intense, they can still yield great results for you. And then, conversations through partnership, that could definitely be a really good thing for you. And something to do with your community for sure. Like your local community, right? Like what you're doing in the community, what you yourself could be doing within the community. And that'd be good for you. I like this for Virgo risings. Okay. For Libra and for Libra rising, this full moon eclipse is happening in your 2nd house. So there's really big finalizations, completions, wrapping up. Letting go, reevaluations going on in terms of your finances, because your focus has been on joint finances. Your focus has been on other people's money, other people's resources, debt, inheritances, taxes, insurances, things like this. And so with this full moon eclipse coming in and hitting your 2nd house, this could definitely be big culminations, big completions, big finalizations to do with your money, your materials, how you make money specifically could be coming to an end, or could be under a really big kind of transformation going on. Now with the square to Saturn, this is happening in your 5th house, so there could definitely be power struggles to do with children. And this is something that has been ongoing for you with Saturn here in the 5th house. So definitely power struggles with children or about children especially, and to do with either resources or any traumas or anything like that that you have surrounding children are definitely a really big thing here. So I would definitely say, work with I would dare even say work with a psychiatrist, work with a lawyer, work with, depending on what's going on for you specifically, because this could be really intense, especially with, the second and the eighth axis and then the fifth house involved. Really look at getting to the bottom of things and understanding things completely, and dealing with old traumas, old wounds, things like that, from that more like emotional standpoint. But really, this is definitely a lot to do with like your finances, what brings you passion, what you're passionate about, taking a hobby and making it into something that is lucrative. And so that could take a little while for you specifically, but this culmination point specifically is good for you in as the first steps of doing that. And then with Mars in Pisces, this is happening in your sixth house. So there could be, support from colleagues, support from people that you employ. This could be support from, your work or your daily routines, or what you're doing every single day could definitely, be helping with this. Or there could even be, where you're showing up for work could be helping your finances. That's for sure with this. So that's what I have for Libra. And then for Scorpio and for Scorpio rising, this blood moon eclipse is happening in your sign. So if you're a late degree Scorpio rising, you are really going to be feeling this. You are going to be letting go of something in a really big way. You had that solar eclipse in your seventh house, and the sun has been traversing there. So highlighting your partnerships and your partners, your spouses, or, your business partners and things like that. And so with this full moon eclipse happening in your sign, this is highlighting you. This is a spotlight on you in a really big way. And this could be the ending of an old chapter for you and the beginning of a new one, specifically to do with your physical body, specifically to do with your physical self. Could be undergoing some crazy transformations and letting go of any toxicity in the body, especially. With the square to Saturn, this could be... this could take a while to manifest just because of what's going on the home front, what's going on, behind the scenes, behind closed doors, in the home, on the home, with the parents even. There could be, some things like that going on, or with the family in general, or where you come from. There could be hurdles that need to be, taken into consideration moving forward. Now, with Mars in trine with this eclipse, this can be really great for creative hobbies, creative endeavors, passion, play, joy, fun, sex, romance. All of that could be on the table, because that's where, this Mars is a chart ruler for you. So this could definitely be, you focusing on what brings you joy and what brings you passion. And it's going to be really good for your physical self, even if that square with Saturn to this eclipse in your first and your seventh, from the fourth, is kind of intense in terms of, what's going on with the home or the family. There's definitely outlets that help support you, specifically with, Mars in the fifth house for you, because it is your chart ruler. So even though things are really tough and really intense in certain areas, especially to do with you and relationships in the home, there's an outlet, a creative outlet for you in terms of what's going on, to be able to focus on that versus the intensity of what's going on in the home and in relationships. But this is the beginning of a letting go process for you, in terms of culminating and completing something to be able to move forward in a new way in partnership. But to do that, you have to let go of something. You physically have to let go of old, stuck, stagnant energy. And that's just what that is. So for Sagittarius and for Sagittarius rising, you know, this eclipse is happening in your 12th house. So there could be big, your focus has been on the mundane, right? With the sun transiting your 6th house and the eclipse that happened in your 6th house, there's like everyday, daily grind, doing the things, doing the work, doing the things, you know, every day focusing on something that is going to benefit you in terms of what you're doing every single day, your mental attitude, or just really busy. That's the thing. Like most Sagittarius risings that I know have made comments of how busy they've been. So with this blood moon eclipse happening in your 12th house, there could be a need to really kind of pull away, and like something is going on behind the scenes that is pulling you away from the daily fray, pulling you away from, you know, what's going on in the day-to-day, and kind of highlighting the rest and the reprieve that you need at this time. There needs to be a balance here. With Saturn in square with this eclipse and with the nodes, this is coming through you know, the guise of either community, siblings, extended family members. This could even be, you know, community. Something is going on in your community. And I'm sorry that the camera's shaking. My cat has decided that he wants to get up and move around, and he's behind my computer. And there we go again. So he, yeah, my cat is being very silly. Sorry about that. So with this full moon eclipse and with this square to Saturn, there could definitely be some hurdles that need to kind of be overcome in the community or with siblings or with extended family members, in terms of like the dynamic, right? There could be fear. You know, you could have a sibling going through some really intense things right now, especially with Saturn transiting that 3rd house for you. But also there could very well be very grounded, very, it could even be very intense conversations that have to do with, you know, the mundane everyday and kind of what's going on behind the scenes. Like there could be really intense private conversations that are going on that need to be resolved. And that's just how that works out with that square to Saturn. Now with Mars in trine with this eclipse in your 4th house, this could be, you know, some really interesting manifestations going on behind the scenes to do with a property, to do with a home, to do with a family member. There could even be some type of endings to do with a family member. Either they're going through something that is coming to an end, or yeah, like they could be going through something that's coming to an end. Like maybe there's something that's been going on, and now with this blood moon eclipse in the 12th house, there could be endings there. This could easily be even conversations to do, or things that need to be talked about or discussed, or things that you're not quite seeing. No, you would be seeing this because this is a lunar eclipse. So there's something going on the home front is coming to an end as well, but it's not a bad thing. This could even be the culmination, because I'm talking about Mars being in the 4th house. And so there could definitely be, with this trine to the eclipse in the 12th house, there could be some manifestations of properties or something to do with the parents or the home that are, you know, finalizing and finishing and coming to fruition for you specifically, especially with a property. But it's something that's more secretive and something that is, yeah, is more secret than anything else, because both the 12th and the 4th are secret houses, or, you know, not secret houses, but they are secret houses. Don't see them clearly. So then with Capricorn and for Capricorn rising, this eclipse is happening in your 11th and in your 5th. So just like Cancer, you know, just the opposite. This is happening in trine and in sextile with your ascendant or descendant, especially if you're a late degree Capricorn ascendant. This is hitting your chart in a really nice way. There could be, you know, your focus has been on your fun, your play, your joy, your hobbies, what you're doing, you know, for fun, or who you're doing for fun, right? But this eclipse that's happening is happening in your 11th house, and having an eclipse in your 11th house, this could be power struggles, especially to do with people, places, and things that you align yourself with by choice. With the square to Saturn, there's kind of this money is involved, and it's involved in kind of a big way. There could be, for you, this could even be the culmination of a project that you've been working on that has taken a lot of time and has taken a lot of resources from you, right? Or for you, right? Because with Saturn here in the second house, you know, this, it's limiting your resources, it's limiting the money that you're making, it's limiting you know, your ability to spend or your ability to purchase things. So with this full moon eclipse happening in the 11th and the 5th, and then with the square to Saturn in your second house, this could definitely be highlighting finances specifically for you. So there could definitely be something that's coming to an end in terms of like a joint or a group project or something like that, and you're going to need to find maybe a new way to make resources, or a new way to make resources, I would say. Now with Mars in Pisces, you know, in trine to this is happening in your 3rd house of communication. So there could definitely be some really powerful communications that are coming through. You know, whether or not this is a communication with a sibling, a family member, extended family member, you know, or a conversation that's just happening to do with groups of people and associations and things like that, that that you can align yourself with. And but this is going to be really supportive and really helpful, these conversations that you can have. So there is that. For Aquarius and Aquarius rising, this full moon eclipse is happening in your 10th house. And so there is a big culmination. Your focus has been on your home, your roots, your property, your family, your place of living, origin, your parents even. And with this full moon eclipse happening in your 10th house, this could be a way that you are known is coming to a very dramatic conclusion, especially with Saturn being in your 1st house and limiting your physical ability to do things. You could have to give up a way that in which that you're known out in the world because of maybe some physical limitations that are going on for you. And so that could be one way that this shows up. Another way that this shows up is that you yourself are very diligent, or have been very diligent, and have been very practical and logical and one step after another. So this could be a fulfillment of some type of way that you're going to be known long haul going forward. Like, because full moons are culminations, completions, finalizations. It's kind of like you reap what you've sown. And with this could be a career that is taking off finally for you, or this could be the ending of a career. Like, it can work both ways. It just depends on what's going on in your life. So if you are one of those people, one of those Aquarius ascendants that is the later degrees where Saturn is, you know, on top of your ascendant, and so you could feel limited, or your body could even feel stiff because Saturn does bring stiffness, you're not able to do what you want to do in career. Now, with you know, Mars, with Mars being in trine to this, I would dare say that, and this is happening in your 2nd house, I would dare say that this could be a fruition for some of you, especially to do with finances, especially to do with ways that you are making money. So there could definitely be you know, some really nice yields, I would say, for you. Or this could be the culmination and completion, and maybe you're retiring, and so you're cutting away a revenue stream for yourself, and you're going more towards that 8th house of, like, you know, taking out your 401k if that's applicable to you. So that's what I have for Aquarius. And then for Pisces and for Pisces rising, this eclipse is happening in your ninth house. And so there's been something to do with either siblings or family members, like extended family members, or community related projects that you've been working on. And now there's this full moon eclipse that's happening in your ninth house in terms of like travel, education, institutions, dogmatic belief systems, things like that. So there could definitely be a big completion and culmination for you, or an ending of some sort in terms of, what you're doing with, the community at large, or even the larger community, just because there's also that square to Saturn. So the groups and organizations that you have aligned yourself with by choice have been they've been kind of squeezed out, right? So the ride or dies are still there, but the people, places, and things that have to do with like groups and organizations that you belong to by choice, or even philanthropic things or causes that you can get behind, are kind of limited with this. If they're not limited, they could be more, what's the word I'm looking for? If they're not limited, they could be long term. And so, but this square that's happening, there's like there could be letting go of fear of associating with specific people, or there could be a letting go of a friendship that's been around for a long time, but there's been kind of disagreements on things. Like that could be something that's going on here. But this full moon eclipse that's happening in your ninth house, I mean, that's a culmination, a completion, and a finalization of some type of education or some type of educational pursuit that's going on for you, teaching, publishing, things like that. But with this Saturn square, like, it's going to take time to either finish, or it's going to take time to extricate yourself from that environment, right? And that is, and then of course we have Mars in trine with this in your first house. So especially if you're a late degree Pisces, this could definitely see you very fired up and very passionate about what's going on in terms of this, dogmatic belief system that you have, or this educational pursuit that you're going after or completing. And so there's definitely some really intense, you yourself could be fired up and like ready to take charge, and you could be self-directing towards, a different way of being for yourself, for sure. That's how that could shape up for you. So that is what I have for you. I hope you enjoyed this, and I appreciate it, and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.